Robert Greenwald on the line. We are partnering with Robert in this new project, our program, among others. And so Robert will be joining us often for updates on who are the 1%. Robert, welcome to the program. Welcome back to the program.
Thank you, Tom, and it's great to be partnering with you and all of your incredible listeners and activists and viewers.
Thank you. And let me just put a couple of URLs out here. First of all, you are the producer, director, political activist, and founder and president of Brave New Films, bravenewfoundation.org. But this is who are, as A-R-E, who are the 1%.com is the website for this particular action that we're collaborating, or that you're working on and I'm trying to support. And tell us, who are the 1% and what are you doing with this?
Well, what we all, of course, Tom, and you've been talking about it in a wonderful fashion, we've all been inspired and encouraged by the Occupy folks. So a lot of the time that we at the Brave New Foundation, we try to think about how can we be helpful, what's not being done. And we realize that what is not being done and plays to our skill set is to identify who actually are the 1%. Who are those people with more wealth and more power and are using that wealth and power to keep down the other 99%? Because it's not just about money. It's how you use the money and what you're doing with it. And we felt that it was a helpful and also important way so that people can begin to understand what are that 1% doing, how do they make their money and wealth. We're going to have a continued voting about what is the dirtiest deed that they have done, and ultimately identify the dirty dozen, if you will. For now, we've been having a great outpouring already this morning with people making suggestions and explaining. Is it the Waltons, or is it the Kochs, or is it the head of the Bank of America? The names are flying in, and sadly, there's a very, as you can imagine, long list to choose from.
Right, and then the defense contractors, you've done a piece on that too.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. The defense contractors who pretend, and maybe this is among the most disgusting and outrageous, pretending that it's about jobs, and really what it's about is men, primarily men, making $20, $30, $35 million a year in salary and stock bonuses, because that's what their focus is at these large war profiteering companies.
Right, which
they are way up there.
Right, which makes them the top 1/100th of 1%.
I know
it's really mind-boggling.
It really is, and I've been reading up on this, Tom, and you know this, of course. But there was a while ago when war profiteering, it was a question. Eisenhower said, and there were House and Senate investigations: should anybody be allowed to profit from the war? Well, not only has that gone, we're now rewarding these profiteers. And we hope and we believe in the 1% campaign, we will call them out.
Yeah, and in fact, here's what Franklin Roosevelt had to say about this.
Our present emergency and a common sense of decency make it imperative that no new group of war millionaires shall come into being in this nation as a result of the struggles abroad. The American people will not relish the idea of any American citizen growing rich and fat in an emergency of blood and slaughter and human suffering.
Now, Robert, when FDR said that in 1940, I think it was 41 or 42, and Harry Truman actually started a commission as a senator to look into, who was profiting off the war. There was a broad American consensus that, yes, we don't want war millionaires. Now these guys, they live in lavish mansions. They're considered the height of society. People bow and scrape as they walk into restaurants. I mean, what has happened in America? How have we turned into a nation that worships the 1%? When we used to be a nation that looked at the 1% as the leeches on the back of the body politic in society.
Well, I think we want to bring a campaign now, Tom, just based on what you said, bring the leeches back.
Or stop the... Actually, I'm viewing them as...
Stop the leeches. Well, I think that we've been propagandized, pure and simple. The 1% have spent an enormous amount of time, energy, and money and convincing us in a multitude of ways that they are indeed have our self-interest, which, of course, they don't. And again, the war profiteers being just an obvious, outrageous example, as people and men and women are being sent off to die, and people in all kinds of countries are dying. These people are profiting at obscene levels and are trying to convince us the only thing they care about is more security. We saw it with the bankers. We see it with Wall Street. And they are using the media. They are using their position in society, and they're playing on people's some level of envy to try to convince us that these are the idols. But that's, I think, what we all have such a wonderful reason to thank the Occupy folks for helping change the conversation and putting a spotlight on these folks. And that's what we're trying to do with the help of you and your partnership on the Who Are the 1%. So people really start to think, wait a minute, who are they? How are they screwing me? What are they doing with their money? And this is how the system works.
Right. WhoAreThe1%.com is the website. We're talking with Robert Greenwald, the producer, director, political activist. Robert, I'm old enough to remember, probably shouldn't admit this on the radio, but I'm old enough to remember when Jimmy Carter was inaugurated, and he walked to the White House for his inauguration, and it was a very low-key event, and you know, wealth was not celebrated. And throughout his presidency, not only was wealth not celebrated, but thrift and frugality were promoted. You know, turn down your thermostat, wear sweaters, things like that. Reagan came into office and took the limousine to his inauguration balls. I remember the headlines in the newspaper, wherever I was living at the time, saying words to the effect of glitz, glamour, wealth are back in fashion with the Reagan administration. And, you know, within a year or two, we had movies, you know, like Wall Street saying greed is good. And you had Reagan suspending the Sherman Antitrust Act. So the mergers and acquisition mania began, dropping the top tax rate from 74% down to 28% of millionaires and billionaires. And it seems like that was the turning point in America, when we stopped viewing the rich as leeches and started viewing them as kings. And it seems like there's a turning back now with the WhoAreThe1%.com, with the work that you're doing. But would you identify that timeline, or do you see something different in the minute we have left here?
No, I agree with you. I think that was the timeline, and it's also a strong argument, Tom, about the way that narratives work. You know, it wasn't that a law was passed saying the rich are kings. It was that the narrative became to accept them that way. And that's one of the reasons that the Occupy people on the ground and the social media is so important. You know, I'm using my Twitter account like crazy to help get these ideas out. And, of course, Facebook has been incredible for Occupy. We're also using it for Who Are the 1%. And, you know, and I know you've been using them actively because it's on the ground and online. And the two together, I think, give us the ability to begin to fight back on the kings and the lords and the 1%.
Yeah, and to change the narrative.
Exactly, which is what we all can do. And, you know, there was some criticism, well, the Occupy people don't have a 10-point plan. Nonsense. Look what they've done in such a short period of time. More than when we had the House, the Senate, and the presidency for Democrats. Yeah, absolutely. And may it continue. Robert Greenwald, the website, spelled out, O-N-E, WhoAreThe1%.com. Check it out right now. It's fabulous. Robert, thank you so much for being with us today for the great work. And thank you, partner.